Welcome to Faith Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Flatwood Works.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast talks about everything from Jesus to woodworking to everything in between and all kinds of stuff. Tom, I did something kind of funny. So for Mother's Day, I talked about, I think last week, I don't know if I think I told you this. We went to DC. We were in DC for Mother's Day weekend, and we stayed in Frederick, Maryland, and across from our hotel was this store called Anything Stained Glass, and it is one of the largest stained glass stores. They sell all over the world. They sell glass and stuff, and so of course my wife is extremely excited to go to this place, and so she spent a couple $100 there and got all kinds of glass and whatnot, and so that was joke her Mother's Day gift, and she's happy with that. But I always like to try to cook on Mother's Day, and I normally will grill. Well, the problem is that we don't have a grill because we sold our grill when we moved from Tennessee to Pennsylvania because we didn't want to move it. And so we had a grill. And so I went out and I bought a Blackstone and got that thing seasoned up, and we made hot sausage, peppers, onions last night on the grill. Boy, I miss cooking. I've never had a Blackstone, so it's my first time. I had to learn all the ins and outs and do the seasoning and oiling process and learn all the stuff. But yeah, we got ourselves a Blackstone. I'm excited to do some breakfast out there and do like all kinds of stuff. So I'm getting into the grilling world.
My brother has one of those Blackstones. He really likes it.
Yeah, I mean it worked well for the, you got your peppers and onions on one side, and then you got your sausage on the other, and then you mix them together and get all the juices and whatnot, and worked out well. I'm excited to do some smash burgers and stuff on it, and yeah, so we got the grill, but the weather's been nice around here. It rained for 2 weeks straight. I'm talking my grass looked like a hayfield, and so then we went out of town. And it got nice when we were out of town, of course. But what that did is that when we got back, the grass was super high, but it was dry because it had been so nice out. And so Sunday, Mother's Day, after church, I had to run into town, which Lew, the closest gas station for us is 10 miles away. So I had to run in and get gas for the mower, and then got back and mowed. And that took 2 hours because it was so high. I had to mow slow and whatnot. But anywho, yeah, man. So Tom, how you been? You sound a little gargly.
Yeah, it's because I was bush hogging. I had to bush hog the property because everything, and then all the
You
dust.
don't wear a mask?
No, I'm bad about that, man. And clearly I should have, but I feel fine. It just sounds really awful, but
yeah, you sound like death, but you.
Yeah, but it's just because when it runs down your throat, then it makes you hoarse.
That's how I was last week. Yep.
Yeah. So, but other than that, been good. Been good.
Good. And side note, another announcement. The ducks are on their way. We ordered ducks, cool. And they're coming from Metzer Farms, and they are on their way to our house as we speak. And so I had to go to the in-laws after work today with the truck and we're borrowing their brooder stuff. They're not getting chicks this year, so they've got one of those big like Rubbermaid. It's 5 foot long by like 3 foot tall by big Rubbermaid things, and then the heat lamp and all the stuff. And so yeah, we're ducks are coming, and my coop isn't finished, and so that's would be priority number one. But I'm also going out of town all next week for a work trip, and so it's just like luckily the ducks will stay in the brooder for 4 or 5 weeks probably, although ducks grow a lot faster than chickens, and so it may be sooner than that. So I'll be hauling butt to try to get this. I actually might take a day off this week to try to get some of that stuff done if I can. But I've also got auditors at work doing pen testing, and so yeah, it's just so it's been fun. But yeah, man,
that's cool. Yeah, I'm getting ready. I ordered my seed and getting ready to seed my pasture and get it ready so that once the pasture's developed well, I'm going to add some sheep to the farm. So,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty.
So just the meat sheep
Yeah,
or
meat.
yeah.
I'm gonna get Dorfers. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. A good friend of mine is a, sheep farmer. He's got 500 head.
Yeah, not me.
Um, the interesting thing about I just saw before we got on the podcast, I was waiting for everybody to come on. I was on Facebook and he posted, and I heard about this before. Um, one of the biggest predators that they have for sheep, bald eagles. And
Really?
the bald eagles will grab the lambs and they like you can't do nothing about it. It's a bald eagle, right?
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it. He's called all these different agencies. They got llamas to try to protect. The llamas will protect against coyotes and different things, but they won't protect against birds. And so they just got a Akbash. It's like a Great Pyrenees dog, and they're specifically uh, bird protectant cattle dog. Like they're bred to ward off like eagles and hawks and stuff. And so I remember talking to him a year or so ago. I said, "So do you deal with like coyotes and foxes and stuff?" And he was like, "Yeah, we do, but they're not too bad. The worst one's the bald eagle." And he said a bald eagle will come down and grab a lamb and take it up in the tree.
Isn't that crazy? I've
Right.
watched videos on them seeing bald eagles do that, and it just fascinating. But they're huge birds.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We have them around. I mean, we've got eagles and hawks and everything that lives around our property. And we had one on the next to the road. There was a deer that had died, and we left for church. And if that bird wasn't looking into my truck almost from just standing, right, my F-150, I was like, "Holy crap, this bird is huge!" And he flew off. But yeah, so I didn't know that. It's kind of a random fact. Bald eagles are huge predators for sheep and small livestock game. So there you
Wow,
have it.
that's crazy.
So
Well,
yeah,
before we get into the guest, just want to say thank you to all the patrons. And if you'd like to support the podcast financially, you could do it. So at patreon.com/Faith Talks Wood, throw us $5 a month and helps out the financial support of the podcast. And if you're in need of any sanding equipment, I'm going to tell you this weekend I was in actually got some shop time, and I love my 3x4 sander, and I love their sanding pads. But dude, I'm going to tell you what, Surf Prep also makes the woven pads that you could put on your sanders and apply finish. Dude, it's a game changer. Oh my gosh, man. It makes it so easy. Because before I've always just taken the rectangular ones but they make them both for your 6-inch sander and for the 3x4. So you could do either one. Dude, it is so awesome. Oh my gosh. It might be one of my new favorite products from Surf Prep. But if you need anything, hop over to surfprepsanding.com, use code FAITH at checkout, and you'll get 10% off. And don't forget, the retreat is coming up this October 16th through the 19th. Go to faithtalkswood.com/retreat and get signed up. The deadline is May 31st. And also, AWFS is coming up July 22nd through the 25th. And if you go to Surf Prep's website, they've got a code you can sign up and get in for free. So it saves you $50. And also, Makers for St. Jude has started and runs. It started a week ago, but it runs all the way through July 4th. So we just want to encourage everybody to hop on in and make something, raffle it off. They've got a goal of raising $50,000 already. I think have raised like $7,800. I'm making something and looking forward to seeing what all you guys make. But make something, raffle it off, and help out childhood cancer. So, Will, man, I'm excited about our guest. Tell us who we got on today.
yeah. So we have had guests from all walks of life on the podcast, and we've had several that we met at Workbench Con, and today's guest Lew is one of those. And it was funny. I remember at Workbench Con, there's like a lot of people, and people are drinking and doing stuff. And it's loud, and there's this guy with these really nice shoes, and he's got these kicks, and we just start talking, and come to find out, he was in IT, I was in IT, and long story short, we talked for a long time. Found out we were both devout believers. Tom at some point come in the mix of the conversation, and then ended up working out. We I think we tried scheduling this once before, and it didn't work out. But and then Lew's company offers a service that my company may want to utilize, that he works for, and so I've actually talked to Lew outside of podcast world and business world, and so. Man, without further ado, Lew Smith from Reluctant DIYers. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me. And you are way too funny, Will. I am a bit of a sneakerhead. So the one thing that people typically notice first is my sneakers, and then they look up and see who I am.
That's funny. Yeah, I used to be a big sneaker guy. I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods in college, and I worked in the shoe department. We got 50% off shoes. And so I could get anything that came in for 50% off. And then the certain manufacturers would actually give you um, deals if you sold their shoes. Like, they kept track of all that. And so,
hmm
I could sell a bunch of shoes. And I, it's been joked that I have more shoes than my wife.
I
Now,
definitely do.
right. And I used to be all about it. And in my, say, older age, you guys are both older than me, but um just things have changed. Like, I don't care about my shoes as much now, because I'm in the professional world and I have to dress up every day. I like nice, like some Cole Haans, or I've got some handmade Thursday Boot Company handmade shoes, stuff like that. I still have I still have some of my Nikes and whatnot. I've got my basketball shoes are Kevin
Uh-oh.
Durant's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, KD. I don't remember which ones they are, but they're purple and black. So there you go.
Well, we just had our annual sales and management retreat at work, and I I only wear sneakers to those meetings, or really any meetings for that fact. So I don't carry leather shoes unless I absolutely have to. Actually, I'm going to a meeting tomorrow where I can't wear sneakers, and I'm a little bit bummed about that. But hey, it happens.
What dictates you can or you can't?
It depends. So if I'm going to a meeting where it's a prospect that we are looking to sell to, that I've never
Right.
met before, they don't know me from anyone else, I will try and show up professionally for that until they get to know me, and then I'm wearing sneakers 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Eh, Yeah. So what's your favorite pair of sneakers? Let's just get it all out on the
Oh
table.
my gosh. So if I had to choose two, one, my number two would be my Jordan 1 Low Travis Scott medium olives. I actually wore those tonight when I went to pick up my son from wrestling practice. And then number one by far, and this is, I'm a little bit of a purist when it comes to sneaker culture, right? It's the Jordan 1 original colorway. And I have the Lost and Found version of it, which was a remake they did several years ago, where they purposefully aged the sneaker to make it look like it was sitting in a Lost and Found, even down to the box that it comes in and the
Oh,
old sales
wow.
receipt that comes in the box. I love the original colorway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was funny. And this is just my personal experience. I did counseling. I wasn't the counselor. I was in counseling years ago. Just working through some stuff. I grew up, broken family and stuff, and so working through some of that.
Mhm.
And one of the things growing up, and even to this day, a clean pair of shoes makes me feel, um, I don't know, like I got myself together, kind of thing. And that was the thing
Mm.
that I kind of found out in counseling. It was, that because I grew up poor and stuff, that it always, first of school year, I got a new pair of shoes, and I'd keep them shoes as clean as I could for as long as I could, because having clean shoes made it look like my life was together. And so, um, And actually, I probably have more boots now than shoes. I got into wearing cowboy boots, and a nice pair of
That's
Western
awesome.
boots is comfy. And so,
I
and,
wouldn't
and
know, Will.
well, and we live out in the country, and we're starting to homestead stuff, and
Oh, nice.
it's it's what it is. But awesome, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you located? Married, kids? Tell us a little about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, first, I want to come back to one thing you said before you introduced me, and it's the ducks. I am massively jealous. We have 13 chickens, and they're okay. I'm not really
Oh,
attached to the chickens. My wife is big time. They're her birds, but I love ducks, and I can't really have them on the property that we're on right now. It's not big enough. Our pond is not large enough either, so I have to wait. So
okay. So
any
against everybody thinks you need water. Ducks do not need water.
Oh no, I'm with you.
We don't have a pond or anything, and they'll have a little kiddie pool they can bathe in. But yeah,
Well,
so
if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it right, and my ducks need to have water. Will, I'm just saying.
hey,
So
I've already looked into building a pond and a liner and getting a waterfall set up. So don't I know what you're talking about. It's in the prospect, but
don't do it in the dead heat of the summer like we did. We almost passed out in the middle of that pond with that dark black liner
yeah.
with the sun beating down on it. Just do it during the cooler months. But yeah, so I actually live right outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. I grew up in Maryland in a town called Towson, which is just north of Baltimore. And then in 2001, I moved from Maryland to Pennsylvania. My company was shutting down their office, and they offered a relocation package to everyone in the office. There were a bunch of people in that office, and only one person took it, and it was this guy right here. Well, 8 months later, I met my wife on a blind date. And 22 years of marriage later, in this coming August will be 22 years. We've been together that entire time. We have 2 boys, and they're teenagers. One just started driving, which has been fun. The insurance cost is awesome. Sense my sarcasm maybe a little bit, but no, they're awesome boys. We've really truly been blessed in that regard. They've been just fantastic young men. Watching them grow has been an absolute joy in my life.
That's
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll just let you know that insurance cost goes all the way until they 25.
Fantastic. Thanks for the good news.
I just want to encourage you. I feel your pain.
I appreciate the encouragement.
It frustrates me because my daughter's 21. She's never had a ticket, never been in an accident, nothing. Like a clean driving record for 5 years. And I don't feel like it's gone down any. I feel like, since the pandemic, it's just gone up more. It's like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been working, like Will said, I've been working in IT. My goodness, 98 or 99, I think it was, when I took my first IT job, and I've been working in IT ever since. So it's been quite a few years, pushing 2.5 decades now. That's kind of crazy to me. But then about 3 years ago, actually, it was a little over 3 years ago, I was. Right when the pandemic started, my family convinced me to get the chickens, right? So we still have one of our original girls. All of the others have passed since. I'm surprised she's still alive at this point in time. But the one deal that I had was, if we're getting chickens, I need to build the coop, and I need to build the enclosed run. I'm not going to go buy something. And at that point in time, everyone was buying chickens, and the cost to buy a coop was unbelievable. Lumber prices weren't that great either. So trust me, it was a little bit of a trade-off, but I just wanted to build something myself, and I'd never really done anything like that before. So it was an opportunity for me to kind of exercise or scratch an itch that I had been kind of holding on to for a period of time. And I loved every second of it. But while I was doing it, I was learning skills that I had never done before. I had never shingled a roof. And now I'm shingling a roof on a chicken coop and an enclosed run so that the hawks won't go after my chickens when they're in their run. And I have no clue what to do. So I went to YouTube and I started watching videos. And guys, the thing that I learned very fast was every last one of those videos was horrible. And I had to cobble together from like 5 or 6 different videos, a process that I then followed in order to shingle the roofs. Now I have 2 coops on the coops and on the run. And it worked well for me. But as I'm watching these videos, I just kept thinking to myself, my goodness, I went to school, my undergrad, I got a broadcast communications degree. I did a ton of video editing and recording. I'm like, I know I could do this. I'm like, when do I have time to do anything like this? And then I had this epiphany happen one day. When I was a kid on a Saturday, I'd come downstairs and I'd turn on the TV and watch cartoons on one of the major networks. I watched my youngest son come downstairs every weekend and turn on the YouTube app on our TV and watch his favorite creators. And that was the light bulb that kind of hit me. And that's when I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to kind of figure out this YouTube thing and just kind of see what it's about and do some investigation. And it was the Sunday after Thanksgiving that year, 21, I guess it was at this point, that I launched my YouTube channel. I told my family at Thanksgiving what I was about to do, and it was absolute crickets at the table, it's just funny to think about that now, because now my brother talks to me. He's like, man, you're doing pretty well with this YouTube thing. And you're only doing it part-time? Like, yeah, it's a lot of fun too. I get to help people and it's enjoyable. But yeah, so then that just kind of catapulted me into the DIY space, which is something that is hysterical because my wife always had to beg me just to hang pictures on the wall. And now I'm creating videos about to hang pictures on the wall or hang a heavy mirror or to fix the toilet. The stuff that I still don't love to do, but I know how to, and I still learn new stuff about it. And I love sharing that with other people and answering the questions and the comments and taking some of those and creating new videos to help them out further. Some of the videos that I've created in response to those comments have been some of my best videos. So it's just been an absolute blast and really just an amazing outlet for me outside of IT on a daily basis.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've watched some of your videos. It's very detailed, but it's the stuff that, like me, I'm always been a DIYer, grew up working with my hands, and I've dropped transmission in the driveway and, replaced, that kind of stuff. It's just, I had to, because we didn't have it. But to me, it seems simple, but I thought about that the one time. I'm like, man, there's nobody really doing it this way. And to your point, as I'm building this coop, I've watched 30 videos on how to, and everybody says something different.
Yes.
It's like, I just want to know how the heck to put a metal roof on it.
Exactly. Well, and there are so many people that have done it so many different ways, and everyone has an opinion on what's the best process. And the 3 of us could pick one thing, and I'm sure we could all have 3 different viewpoints on that exact same topic. And to me, that's the beauty of it, because the more people share how they're doing the things, the greater the community becomes, because people get to see so many different viewpoints and options for how to get things done.
Right. It's pretty cool. So tell us about, I do know something about you that I'm sure you're going to share in your testimony, but tell us about your journey. Did you grow up in church? Have you always been a Christian? When did that change? And you recently got your, I don't know, was it your MDiv or?
I did.
Yeah. And so tell us about, how did Lew get to where he is today from where you were, as a kid? Did you, tell us about your testimony?
It's probably not unfamiliar to a lot of other people as far as how it starts out, because when I was a kid, my mom, there's a pastor friend of mine that told me when I was a kid, I had a drug problem because my mother drugged me to church every Sunday. So he hit that one on the head, by the way, that nail. But my mom took me to church every Sunday, and it never really connected with me. It was my mother's faith that I was trying to live out as a child is kind of how I articulate it today, having the perspective that I have. But the biggest confusing thing for me when I was a kid was, my mom would take me every Sunday, but it was just myself and my mom. My dad was a career fireman, and he worked weekends a lot. So there were plenty of Sundays where he just wasn't there because he was working the day shift and was leaving early in the morning, or had just gotten back from the night shift and didn't get much sleep. So no worries there, right? But there were many Sundays where we would get up to leave and my dad wasn't working and he hadn't worked the day before and he didn't go with us. So it was always kind of confusing to me. It never really clicked when I was younger. I knew the stories about Jesus, but I didn't know Jesus. I knew all of the Old Testament stories. I was one of the lions in the Daniel and the Lion's Den play that we did at the church. I mean, I was an acolyte or an altar boy, basically, at the church. I would light the candles and do all of that. And I was there, but I wasn't there, if you get what I'm saying. I was physically there, but mentally I was just somewhere else. It just never hit me. So when I hit the point where I graduated high school and I ended up going away to college, I went to school, to a school in North Carolina. I basically just kind of turned my back and said, this isn't for me. And I stopped going to church at that point in time. And it took a very long time to get to a point where I actually would go back to a church. A great friend of mine, still a friend to this day, love this man more than I can express in words, tried to get me to go to church in college, took me to a service one Sunday, and it was more of a progressive service with guitars and everything else on stage. And I was used to the traditional service with the organ, and you've got the pastor with the garments on and all of that, and now you've got some dude in jeans and a t-shirt on stage. I'm like, what in the world is this? It didn't click with me visually, nor was my heart really into it. I just kind of went because he asked me to go. But as I'm sure you guys know, it takes more than one request for anything like that to stick, whether it's in sales or in faith, right? So I kind of went on my own path, and that path consisted of, just me being all about me and really focus more on what other people thought about me, what my exterior looked like, regardless of the challenges that I was struggling with inside. I had to look spotless on the outside. And that was what I focused on 100% of the time, all day, every single day. I felt like that's how I could control the situation, whether right or wrong. That was the way that I did it, right? And then I met my wife on our blind date. She's a Christian woman. And, for her, it really resonated with her in her teens at a United Methodist camp that she had gone to. Funny enough, our kids have gone to that camp every summer for several summers now, which is kind of cool. But that's when Jesus became real to her. And it was a real part of who she was. But I was a horrific influence on my wife because I refused in a very vehement fashion to go to church. But by the time we had our oldest son, I almost felt like I had to. And again, it was just another reoccurrence of me trying to live out my mother's faith, where I felt like I had to have my son baptized, and that's just what you do. And I was following the list and checking the check boxes. But again, it just was not resonating with me. So fast forward several years now, and we have our second son. There's a Sunday, and I will never forget this as long as I live. My wife came to me. I was laying in bed, and she had been pushing me pretty hard. And she finally said, you know what? We need to get our boys to church, and I'm taking them today. And you can either lay in this bed and stay here, or you can come with us. And I had this flashback to when I was a kid. My mom would take me to church. My dad would lay in bed, and how confusing it was for me. And while my heart wasn't in attending the service that day, at least at that point in time, I didn't want it to be confusing for my kids, where I was staying at home and mom was taking them to church, because it was so confusing for me as a kid. So I got up and I went. Didn't want to be there, but I went. Guys, I sat down in that service that day with my wife, and I will never forget the message that the pastor gave. It was on John 10:10. Talking about how we could have life and have it to the full, or have it abundantly. And on the screen, as part of that message, there was this image of skydivers. And for younger skydivers who've never been before, you have the master skydiver behind them. And, they're with you the whole way down. And he was just basically giving the visual of, we're the skydivers that don't know what we're doing. And Jesus is that master skydiver who's with us the whole way down, the entire time he's there. And that was the message that really hit home with me. And I was hooked. I had to hear more about it. So when we got home from church that Sunday, my wife very hesitantly approached me in the kitchen and said, so what'd you think of that service? And the look of amazement on her face when I said, I think I need to go back, was another one of those things in my life that I'll never forget. That was a pivotal day in my life that I talk about anytime that I get to share my story, because I don't even know how many times I had been asked to go to church. My wife got me to church in between, and I'm skipping over years of back and forth with a church relationship and challenges with pastors, and take your pick, right? Me trying to be me and control things when I didn't realize that I didn't have control over things. So getting to that point was very difficult, but that was the day that everything changed for me. Now, that was I believe it was November of that year. That very next January, my wife was going to be baptized. So she wanted to profess her love of Jesus again, be baptized as an adult, rebirth, everything that comes with that. And that day, they opened the baptismal font for everyone at the church. Now, I knew this going into that Sunday, because that Friday morning, I had breakfast with one of the campus pastors at our church, and I was just hitting him with lots of questions. I'm like, you know what? I'm moving in the right direction, but I'm just not completely there yet to get baptized and totally give my life to Jesus. I was still kind of moving down the path, right? And then he told me about it. I'm like, yeah, there's no way on God's green earth that I'm going to get baptized this Sunday. Well, gentlemen, during that service, I wrote down a ton of questions. I'm a big user of Evernote, so I would always write my notes down as the messages were happening. By the end of that message, every note that I wrote during that message was answered. And I just kind of looked up. I'm like, all right, I get it. You're listening. And I need to start too. And I had this kind of battle going on inside of me if I need to be baptized, but I didn't want to. And I was fighting me. I don't know of a better way to say it. I was fighting the old me who didn't believe that this was the way that needed to go. But in my heart, I knew I needed to. And I did. Now, the cool part about that day was that my parents had driven up from Maryland to be there for my wife's baptism. So when they saw me walk in, my mother was shocked. She had no clue. She thought that I had run around the back to help my wife get out and get dried off and everything else. And it's these things that you never forget, right? Exact words from my mother after I had dried off, came out, and I gave her a hug. And she said, Jesus really does answer prayers. And he certainly did, because, man, from that day forward, someone lit a fire in this guy, and it was like the gas was thrown on the fire, and I just ran, and I haven't looked back. Now, that's not to say that it's been perfect every day since. No one ever said that being a follower of Jesus was something that was going to be easy, and it certainly is not. But yeah, so fast forward several years now, 10 years later, I guess it's been since that, 11 years, ballpark since then. And this past year, I graduated from Liberty University with my master's in divinity. I've been heavily involved in my church for years. I get to preach basically once a quarter at this point in time. I'm up again June 22nd. So not that I'm looking at the calendar or looking forward to it, but it's something that I love to do, is just any chance that I get to share Jesus in conversation in just a natural way that's not overbearing, which is what I always disliked and didn't want to hear from people, because it was like they were telling me what I needed to do, and I didn't want to hear any of that. Someone needs to come to that realization themselves, and all that we have to do is put the breadcrumbs in front of them. And I love spreading breadcrumbs.
Absolutely. I don't know if you knew, but I actually went to Liberty University as well.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did online.
I did too.
So I got my it's actually in my office at work. If you ever Zoom with me, you'll see behind me there's like my degree for IT, and then right next to it is my Liberty University thing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, small world. So are you guys involved in a Baptist church now?
So we're involved in a non-denominational church.
Okay.
Yeah, in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Awesome church.
Was sure with Liberty being Baptist, I've wondered. I'm not Baptist and I'm with Liberty, so
yeah. Oh, and I will say that's been a common misconception that I've encountered when I've told people where my degree is from. They're like, "Oh, you're part of the Southern Baptist Convention." I'm like, no, it was a fantastic education. I was able to get various different perspectives and wouldn't trade it for the world, but definitely a non-denominational guy right here.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny is I think that so many of us can relate to your story in the fact that we always try to put on this facade, right? And we want to be, as I talked about earlier, about having the nice shoes. For me, was like just trying to. I got together. I look clean. Whatever. So many of us have that. So that's awesome, man. I love hearing hearing that you've turned it around, and that the reality that I've heard it said that behind every godly man is a woman praying for him. Right?
100%.
And so that's pretty cool. Have to ask this question, and Tom knows, he probably knows where I'm going. What's your favorite Bible translation?
I am an ESV guy.
Okay.
And I have to, I'm not going to say blame, but I will credit Liberty for that, because I had to write all of my papers. Everything was required to be ESV.
Right.
And I grew to like it. Honestly, I think it's probably the closest that we get in a non-King James translation to the actual translation of the Hebrew and the Greek for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, one could argue I'm a Bible translation snob. I've got
lay it on me.
13 different translations probably.
Okay.
And Tom knows that's my thing. I love talking about translation, talking about different versions. I have a love-hate relationship with the ESV. It's funny too, because I'm not even an NIV guy. I don't even like the NIV.
I'm not an NIV person.
Yeah. ESV, I think it's a fantastically faithful translation. I just don't like the intentional Yoda talk.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about.
I get what you mean.
But I do. I actually was just reading from one of my ESVs the other day. I have 3 ESVs: ESV Study, got a thin line, and then I've got another one. But yeah, that's awesome. I actually had a conversation with somebody at church about Bible translations. It's funny how you can get down that rabbit hole, but that's awesome, man. And so, do you are you on like not staff at your church, but are you kind of like an elder or leader or deacon or?
Yeah, for the past several years, and I actually literally within the last couple of weeks just took a step back. I'm doing a little bit of a sabbatical from it, just because I've been doing it for so long. But I've been running our online ministry. So every Sunday we have our in-church service where we also stream it live via YouTube. And then I've done a ton of content creation in the past for our YouTube channel and worked with the team there. But I've been responsible for basically everything in our tech booth and making sure that we have all of that on lockdown for our Sunday services.
Okay. And you're taking a step back from that some?
I am, yeah. So for me, it being in that position for so long and being upstairs in the tech booth, I feel like I've kind of disconnected from certain portions of the church and I need to very much reconnect with it. So I've literally sat in a seat and watched a service twice. And I've been with our church for, when was the Sunday that the Philadelphia Eagles won their first Super Bowl? Was that 7 years ago? Because that's when the church started. Since then, I've sat and watched two. And I desperately want to sit in a seat and participate in a service and not worry about what's happening with the stream, or this one camera has a problem, or the sound guys are dealing with an issue with the guitar or whatever it is. I really want to be in the service.
Right. It's something about being fed. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm involved in tech. Actually, we're getting ready to implement a whole new sound system, getting a Midas M32 board and new PA, and I got an 18-inch sub coming, and we're doing the whole thing. So, and we're a church of like 150. So
That's awesome. Yeah, we don't have a dedicated building. We actually rent out a local theater that has a fantastic setup for us. So we get to use all of their tech.
Oh.
And we get to use their sound team, which is kind of nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But everything else was all me.
Oh, wow.
For the most part.
Tom knows a little bit about the remote church, or the what do you call that? Church out of a trailer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
we did that for years.
Back in North Carolina, we rented a facility, but we set up everything, like sound, everything. So we have one building where it was a classroom building, and that's where we set up for like the kids ministry and the child care for everybody, and then in their auditorium is where we set up. And so we set up everything from the curtains, all the instruments, had to bring in the drum set, the sound, everything, and then at the end of the service, pack it all back in the trailer. So
yes.
But I did that for years. I really enjoyed it. Now I operate a camera at my church. So
nice.
Yeah.
So when we first started, we met in a middle school, and we had a trailer with a bunch of the big cases on wheels, and we'd have to push them up the hill into the auditorium and into the rooms for the kids area and everything else. Get all of that set up first thing in the morning. We had an entire group of guys that we called our roadies. Yeah. And I was actually, for a period of time, I guess, the leader of our roadie crew. And then, like you said, at the end of the service, we had to tear it all down, put it back in the cases, wheel it back down, get it in the trailer, and all of that. Yeah. That was tough.
One thing I'll say is I understand what you're talking about, like wanting to participate in the service, because like the weeks where I'm operating a camera, I'm sitting there going from musician to musician to, catching different clips. We got 5 different cameras. So, and when I'm in it, yes, I'm hearing the music, but my mind is focused on catching the next shot. And so I'm very thankful. We have 2 different crews, and the way we do it is 1 week, and we have 2 services. So 1 week, my crew, it's not my crew, the crew that I'm on, does both services. The next week, we attend church. And so,
that's nice.
Yeah. So every other week, I like get to sit with my daughter, and I'm there. I'm intent on worship, but it's, even though that I do listen and it is a form of worship, it's not the same. And so I can't imagine going 7 years without sitting in a seat. That's crazy, man. So
yeah, they were Christmas Eve services. I remember them well.
So Tom, at your church, are you running a mobile camera? Are you like walking around, or
no? Well, we have actually we have 6 cameras. So we have one camera that is positioned standstill on the drummer. Nobody operates it. Another one that's positioned on the keyboard.
I always hated looking at that camera. At our church in Tennessee, we had one of those cameras. They didn't tell us. And I come in for practice one week, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we're putting a camera in the drum booth." I'm like, and so here's this camera. I'm in this, enclosure with in the drums, and there's this camera, and they said, "Don't look at it."
Yeah. Well,
I'm like, what do you mean I can't look at it? And so I was like, oh, I hated that thing.
yeah,
And
our
it,
camera for both the drummer and the pianist or the keyboardist don't focus on their faces. It's focused on the drums, so it's like a close up shot.
ours was just kind of the whole kit and everything, and so
Yeah, but
it it was funny too because the one camera guy that ran the switcher, he knew when I was doing some heavier hit kind of in the moment, and he'd switch to me, and I knew when I was doing that, and I knew he was gonna put the camera on because the red light would come on. I hated that, man.
yeah, but then we have the main camera that's right in the center of the auditorium that is what operates whenever. I mean, it operates the whole time, but the person operating it stays at that camera the entire time. So after worship is done and the message is delivered, he's there filming the pastor. And then we have one that I operate mostly off to the left, so it kind of shoots from the left side of the auditorium. Then the other side, we have one that's on a jib that shoots from the right side, and then we have a mobile one that somebody walks around with. So, yeah, it's so it when during worship, it's really you're getting to see all the different singers, the musical instruments, and everything, and kind of makes it more interactive. So. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I can't sing,
That's
so
really cool.
it's my way of serving because, yeah.
Too funny. Yeah, we don't have, we're not that fancy. We have stationary cameras that we manipulate with a remote control up in
You
the
have a
booth.
switcher. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
which is a
What are
lot
you
of
guys
fun.
using for live stream?
So there
OBS
is
or
it's a Black Magic.
yeah,
And then we just plug straight into YouTube from that Black Magic.
right. Very good. Awesome. So I guess you kind of told us the beginning of Reluctant DIYers, Reluctant DIY. How has that evolved over the years? How's that become what it is? Because I guess it started with the chicken coop build. Is that where that started, or?
No, my very first video, which is horrifically bad, and I can't watch it again. I went back and did it about a year ago, and I just don't have the ability to watch it again, was about how to remove a stripped screw. And I get a lot of criticism on how poor the video is, and I agree with every last comment about it because they're right. And I was learning at that point in time, but I've evolved over time with several different kind of key areas. Hanging heavy stuff on drywall has been big for me. I had a project this past summer where I put a fence in around our garden, and several pieces of that took off. And then just general stuff around the house, how to handle things with toilets. I responded to one comment one time, and someone was asking me how to remove a window screen. It is a YouTube short that I did that did insanely well. And still does on a daily basis. It's unbelievable how something that's simplistic can get so many views. But that one's hysterical to me because I get a lot of teenagers saying, "Hey, I'm going to use this to get out of the house tonight. Thank you so much." I'm like, well, that's not why I created this video, but okay. Thanks for sharing. Please be careful. I can't stop you. But no, it has gone so well and way better than I ever expected it to, right? This was something that I was just doing on the side just to see what it would be like. And I grew to enjoy it. And, for a long while was doing one video every single week. And then I just was not able to keep up with it with schooling and everything else that was happening. And it's been difficult for me recently with some changes at work and other things going on this year. But I'm kind of in this season right now where I've joined a coaching program just to help it kind of revamp my processes and how I create, and already starting to see just a huge difference in how I work through that process. But to me, it's really the engagement with the folks who are commenting on the videos that is the thing that I probably love more than anything else. Both good and bad comments, by the way, because there are a lot of negative commentary out there, and I love them more than you can imagine.
Are you one of those guys that like will reply with sarcasm to negative comment guys, or?
So one of my favorite responses is thank you for your encouragement. And I mean that very genuinely, because there are some people who will say some things and you know what, they're right with what they say, and there are some people who will say some things and they're wrong. Either way, they're encouraging me to improve. So that is really a genuine comment that might come off as sarcasm from time to time, but it is truly how I feel, because every comment helps me improve the content that I'm delivering. So it's always a learning process with YouTube.
And it helps the algorithm.
It certainly does.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah,
I listen every once in a while. I'll listen to We Build a Thing podcast, and they'll talk about comments that they've gotten on videos, and it's just kind of funny to hear what people are saying.
I did when I was doing the fence, one of the gentlemen I was working with at the time encouraged me prior to this to take a project and break it down into smaller chunks for videos, because you never know who could get use out of one small chunk versus the entire project. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So I did one on how to set a post in concrete. And basically it was a video about the instructions on the back of a Quickcrete bag is the easiest way that you can think of this video at a very basic level. That video has spawned unbelievable debates on what is the best way to put it in, how much the wood is going to rot. Do you need to put gravel here? Should you mix the concrete before you put it in? Any angle you can possibly think of. And the commentary on that video is just hysterical to me. Sometimes when I want to laugh, I'll just go through the commentary of people fighting back and forth about it. I'll say something. Some people will defend me. Some people will criticize me. People will go back and forth on each other, and just, I don't know. It's always a blast to read through the comments.
So, what are you hoping to go full time into YouTube one day, or is this just going to stay a hobby? Or
so I will tell you that YouTube has become my retirement plan, Tom. So I am stunned how much a YouTube channel makes for someone who spends 2 to 3 hours a week on a YouTube channel. Between just YouTube ad revenue, affiliate marketing, sponsorship deals that I've worked out over the course of the past several years. I was actually on QVC 4 times earlier this year with one of my brand partners, which was kind of funny. Shocking that QVC is still as popular as it is in their demographic, but they do a pretty good job. And it was fun, but it's amazing how trying to help others can turn into something that can become so fruitful and potentially give you other opportunities in your future.
very cool. Well,
Yeah,
I will
it's
say
a lot of fun.
recently, I saw one of your sponsored videos, and the first time I saw it,
Oh, boy.
I was like, "Man, there's Lew." And then every time I turned on Instagram, I must have saw that ad 40 times. And I finally got to myself, I still like Lew, but I am never buying your product because you keep ramming it down my throat. That Wallabot ad.
I know
dude,
what product you're
I
talking
was
about. That's
like,
exactly what it is.
dude, I must have saw that ad 4,000 times. And I was like, I was going to get one of these until you showed me your ad 4,000 times. I was like, I can't.
What is it?
The
what is this thing?
Wallabot thing. But you did a great job, though. And the first time I was like, oh, there's Lew.
So that's the product I was on QVC for, was with the Wallabot. So it's a visual stud finder that connects to your smartphone. So when you scan the wall, you get a visual of what's actually inside of the wall based off, it's a radar-based system.
Right.
So based off of the scan from the radar chip that they have in their device, you get to see that visual back on your phone. It's pretty cool. It works really well. And I'm not trying to show a commercial to Wallabot here, but I bought it originally because I'm a tech geek and I love electronics and I love gadgets. And I just wanted to see how well it worked. And son of a gun, the darn thing works.
That's cool.
Interesting. That's
But no,
cool.
I had a friend who we went to undergrad together. He lives in Bermuda. It's where he's from originally. And he shot me a message in LinkedIn. He goes, I was on my computer. This is how he speaks, right? I was on my computer and I heard your voice. And I went, oh my goodness, it's Lew. I'm like, why is he selling stud finders?
Oh, that's amazing.
Like, sorry, man. I am.
Yeah. Have you ever had with the you don't have to say names, like the partnerships or stuff that afterwards you're like, I probably shouldn't have done that, or that was that product, or will you not do stuff that isn't like you don't back?
Yes. So I did several things early on that I did because I was really just trying to learn the ropes of how to work with sponsors and brands. And I wish I had never done several of them. And it's a constant challenge with content creators and the amount of outreach that we get from different companies, no-name brands from all across the globe who just want you to create a video and give you a free product. If I could say one thing to all content creators out there, it would be don't ever accept a free product for anything that you create. And there's several reasons for that. But the companies who I have partnered the best with are the ones who understand that I genuinely care about the product that they have, or the market that they're serving. And and I will shout them out if you guys are okay with, there is an amazing company based out of Maryland called Newborn Brothers Caulking Supplies. These guys, they have the best caulk guns that I've ever used on any projects at home. There's one in particular that it's my go-to, and they are just genuinely amazing people at this company. So they have fantastic hearts. They really care about their customers, and they make fantastic products. And it's companies like that that really get me energized to work with them. You guys were talking about Surf Prep early on. My goodness, the people at Surf Prep are absolutely amazing. And if you ever want to find people who genuinely care about their products, you don't have to go any further than that company, because they do care. And they'll tell you that, and they'll back it up. There aren't a lot of companies like that these days.
Yeah.
So when I find one, I really just kind of stick with them. And for Newborn, they asked me to create videos for their YouTube channel. So I've been doing that separately outside of creating videos on my channel to help them kind of build their YouTube channel as well. And it's just been a fantastic relationship.
Yeah, with Surf Prep, I mean, we interviewed Skylar, the founder of Surf Prep. He's a devout believer. He believes in men. He's big about pouring into men and stuff like that, and biblically. And so that's why when we partnered with them, it just made sense. It does. I mean, they're a company that has values that we uphold, and Skylar and Hannah, and they're all just so genuine people. So
oh yeah. And I met them at Workbench Con the year that we met for the first time, and they're amazing people.
Hey,
absolutely.
And the products are awesome.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's not just that they have good hearts; they actually have really good products.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So what do you got going on now, Lew? What's on the bench? What's in the shop? What you working on?
That's a great question. I actually just finished recording a video series on planting trees, and specifically the Thuya green giant arborvitaes. Our neighbors put in an ugly fence, which I don't like looking at. So I planted 26-foot trees and then created a video series around it.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. that's a different story, which I won't get into. We'd be here forever. But so that's what I just finished. I actually just I'm working through the schedule right now. Where I'm sitting right now is my home office. This is where I work on a daily basis, and I did a top for my standing desk where I'm sitting right now. But I'm going to be building a built-in desk with a bookshelf around it that matches the top, so I can get myself kind of like a pseudo L-shaped desk. So coming Memorial Day weekend is when I'll start all of the cutting of all the material for that, so I can start to pull things together. And for me, it's exciting because I've never made cabinets before, and I'm dying to do it on this project. And I think I'm going to do the two bottom cabinets two totally different ways and do two videos about that just to show two different ways. One of my favorite videos about building cabinets was, did you guys meet Mark Thill? He's the, oh my goodness gracious, I'm blanking on his channel. Guy's hilarious, the Creepy Carpenter. He has one where he's like, you know what? Don't do these crazy techniques. Just screw your boards together. And I'm going to do that method as one of them. And then another, I'll do something kind of cool. So, but, you know, I tailor and I create videos for beginners. So I don't go crazy deep and technical with things. I try to keep it on a level that anyone could walk up and do it, because to me, that's kind of my passion. I just want people to feel empowered that they can get stuff done around their home, make it look the way that they want it to look without having to pay thousands of dollars to people to come in. Is it going to be perfect? You know what? No. And that's okay, because you made it yourself and you put the time in and you love what you just created. And who cares what anyone else thinks about it, as long as you like it, right? So that's what gets me going.
That's awesome. One of my favorite YouTubers, I don't want to get his name wrong. Anytime he puts a video out, I watch it. It's Hacksman. He is in Florida. I think it's Hacksman. And he does like that kind of stuff, like the DIY stuff around Haxman. Yeah, Hacksman. And his videos are hilarious. And he just does everything he does is super, like, you could do it. Like, don't think you can't. You can figure it out, right?
Oh, yeah.
But his sense of humor is, you know, just hilarious. And so even though I'll watch some of his stuff and it's like, he does like weird projects, like he just did like a pond in his yard, or he'll do like, you know, building a fence, or he'll do, you know, doing a patio, building up that kind of stuff. But anywho, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm interested to see your different takes on cabinet building.
So, and one of my favorite things also that I love to do is just beating the snot out of products. I've started doing it in different ways recently just to test stuff. And I'll, like the last one I did a comparison of 3 different battery powered 10-inch electric pole saws. Because I've just got trees in the yard that need to be trimmed. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go to Lowe's, figure out what the top 3 most popular pole saws are from customers. You know, what are people buying? And I went and I bought all 3, and I just tried to put them to the test. And I was absolutely stunned at one of them, which is supposedly like the big dog when it comes to battery powered stuff in the yard. But I love beating up products more than you can possibly imagine. So I've had people reach out and they're like, hey, we'd love you to make a video. I'm like, do you understand what I'm going to do to your product? Are you cool with me doing these things to your product? Some people are cool with it. Some are like, yeah, no, I don't think we want to do that. Cool. I will take your 3D 16 line green beam laser level and throw it on the floor. Are you okay with that? No, let's not do this.
I'm gonna have to look at that. We were just talking about this today with my wife. My wife is strange, and she likes to weed eat. Like,
really?
Oh my gosh, I love to mow. I have a big zero-toe mower, and I just love to get out and mow. Yeah, I hate weed eating. I usually try to landscape so I don't have to, but she gets out there, but she didn't like the big gas one I have, big Craftsman gas weed eater. And so she said something one time about getting one that is battery operated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found a deal. I don't remember the blue store or the orange store, but it was the Greenworks brand.
Greenworks.
I think that's Home Depot, maybe. Anyways, it was a blower,
right.
a blower and a weed eater combo with a 40-volt battery, and that's the coolest. I mean, it's just as powerful, brushless motor. It's just as powerful as not as a gas, but I mean, you could chop down anything, and then the blower is just as powerful as a gas blower. You know, I don't know. I love them.
I don't know when I'm a big fan of gas.
Are you?
Yeah, it's like I don't know that I could buy an electric car.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I could ever bring myself to buy an electric chainsaw, like an actual chainsaw. A pole saw is different. That's I put that in a different category. I could never buy an electric chainsaw. I could never buy an electric trimmer. I'm not buying an electric lawnmower.
So ironically, I've got both. I have my big steel farm boss, and I love it. Like when I got to cut something big, it's awesome.
Yeah, I got a farm boss too. Yeah,
but I tell you, I've got the Ego, pole trimmer and Ego weed eater, and I've got a little Ego chainsaw. And for cutting, like if I'm doing trimming trees and trimming limbs off, I much prefer the little electric one because you can maneuver it around. You need to stop for a second. You don't have to re-crank it. So there's certain tasks where I actually like it better, but it'll just irritate you. It's like trying to take a Toyota Prius to a race car track. You know what I mean? It's like you could get there cheap, but you're not going to go fast. You know what I mean? And but
that's such a great analogy.
On the weed eater, I had a steel weed eater for years, and I switched to the Ego weed eater, and I love it. It's for if you got heavy duty like brushing, then I would say going back to a gas is the way to go. But for around the yard, I actually like the electric one. But I will never own an electric car. Never. No, I've got a hybrid.
I love your commitment.
I'm just going to tell you, it's every time I go to Sam's Club and I sit there and I watch these idiots sit in their cars for 45 minutes so they can continue on their trip, that reaffirms that I'm never buying an electric car. I laugh at them every time. I'm like, you're paying almost as much in electricity as I pay for gas in my Prius. I have a Prius that I hate, but I bought it back when Obama was in office and gas went through the roof. And it's dirt cheap, but man, I pull in the gas station, I fill my Prius up, and then I'm leaving in 3 minutes. And you sit there, watch people charging their cars for an hour so that they could continue on their trip. I'm like, that makes no sense whatsoever to me.
So I'll combat you with one thing, and Lew might know, you're in technology. Solid state batteries. When it becomes industry standard for a car to have a solid state battery, your argument will no longer hold up. And I don't have an electric car, and I probably won't ever have one because they're so expensive. But solid state batteries, think about getting 12 or 1,400 miles off a charge, and think about being able to charge that in 5 minutes. And think about but that same technology across that's for electric cars, right? Think of a pacemaker that lasts a lifetime, a cell phone that you can have not charged for a month. Some of the technology that's coming out with solid state batteries, I suspect, will change the way in which we look at this. You could charge your electric chainsaw and it's going to last you for weeks of use before it. So I don't know. It's coming. I'd say we'll start seeing it in consumer electronics in the next decade, but it's
it's
while
expensive.
out.
Okay, so then
Right now
I'll
it's really
say
expensive.
this: if I could go 1,000 miles on a charge, and it could charge if I could go 1,000 miles on a charge, I wouldn't care about how long it took
If
to
it took an
charge.
hour to charge, right,
But I like doing road trips, and in my work, the other thing is in my work, I travel 2.5 hours up into the mountains where I don't pass a charging station,
right,
and I got to be able to
right.
get back home. 1,000 miles would cure that. So if they do that, then I might change my mind. But right now, going 200 miles on a charge and having to sit at some station for 45 minutes and pay $20 to charge my car, not happening. No.
Yeah, and right now, I think Elon and Tesla are putting the most money into solid state. I know he bought a company last year, I think it was, that they were like one of the premier innovators of solid state
Mm,
batteries. But the guy that invented solid state batteries is the same guy that invented lithium batteries.
hmm
And lithium, the mining of lithium and the disposal of lithium is it's a difficult task, and
hmm
so I'm looking forward to solid state batteries because the technology is way different. It's not how we see a battery now, and so that's future. I'm hoping, in the case where I can get 1,000+ miles on a charge, I would probably go electric. But you also have to remember that the government is going to get dip their hand in it, and they're
Yeah.
already starting to put taxes on if you have if you have a Tesla that you charge at home. It used to be you could charge that thing. I had a buddy in Tennessee who, when all the huge tax benefits on Teslas were going crazy, and he bought a Model 3 for like 15 grand after everything, right? He was telling us that he traveled for work, and he was doing like $200 a month in gas, and it went to like $20 a month in electric because of what the charging. That's all it cost.
Hmm.
That was back in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a while ago. And so, but now they're saying, oh, you have an electric car, here's $400 a year tax that you're going to have on your electric. So
My gosh.
yeah.
Will it ever end?
No.
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 But I
No.
mean, the thing is, like, I was sitting beside a guy registering his Tesla when we registered our cars, and he had bought a new Tesla, and like the registration here in Colorado for it was like $1,000,
Oh,
with
yeah.
and they have to do that because that Tesla does the same amount of damage to the roadway that my Prius does, but the difference is I pay tax on gas. So they're saying, hey, everybody that uses the roadway has to contribute, and I'm all for that. So either way, you've got to help maintain. Otherwise, Tesla's not going to hit a pothole any different than your Ford truck or my Prius. You know what I mean? So,
Nah.
No.
Still the
but
same rubber.
yeah.
Still the
But I tell
same
you what
rubber, and
would be cool though is if they ever did get it to where 18 wheelers could be efficiently electric, because man,
Ooh.
that's one thing I hate about people that don't maintain their vehicles and the fumes, the smoke coming
Goodness,
out.
yeah.
I'm like, I won't breathe that crap, man.
see,
But
Lou and I live in Pennsylvania where we have yearly inspection, so
yeah,
it's a little bit different here. But you go across the border where I'm at into Ohio, and there's just rust buckets, and
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's insane.
And when you think it's annoying, sometimes you just you get a little thankful that you have to, because it really does make a big difference. My wife and I went to social media marketing world earlier this year, and we had an Uber driver one day, and he was telling us how much their annual vehicle registration costs were. It was insanely high for both gas and electric vehicles. And I don't get it, because I think we pay, what is it, $35 for the registration, like
Uh,
60 something.
my truck is I think it's like $65 or
Yeah,
something.
there
I
you
don't
go.
know.
And he was just quoting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for their annual. Like, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. Here in Pennsylvania, though, we do have a 90-cent gas tax, one of the highest in the country. So I was in Maryland this weekend, and gas was like $2.49 a gallon. I'm like, what the?
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
Like, what the
I
heck?
wish.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
And I
no,
just filled
thank
up the
you.
truck this morning, and I have a 35-gallon tank in the truck. So, yeah.
No way. That's
No.
not a 3-minute fill, by the way.
No, that's a 5-minute fill. You know, just sit there. Should get on my phone and check Facebook while I'm waiting for gas or something. Oh, very
That's
good.
funny.
Tom, what do you got on the bench? You said you've been doing some woodworking. What you got going on?
Well, I had a little bit of time this week. I was hoping I was going to get to making the bed for my wife for Mother's Day, and needless to say, I haven't had time to do that. And I was like, but I got to do something. And so I made her a bread knife. She's been baking bread, dude. Like, you would have thought I gave her a gold bar. Like, she loves that. She's like, oh, this thing is awesome. And so but it was fun to actually go out in the shop and make it, because it took no time whatsoever to make. Super simple.
Nice.
But just going out there, and using my joiner, my planer, and but I think it got me to thinking. I was like, because and then I had to use my router table and change router bits, and I was like, I should have made 10 of these right now, because all the different steps. I was like,
Right.
this is, and I think I'm gonna make a list of little projects like that, to where I could go out there, make 10 of something, and have it sell on our little farm stand. But yeah, that's the only thing I've done this week, was make a bread knife. It's pretty sad. But put Willie's wood honey on it, man, and used my Surf Prep sander to sand it, and it was fun. So, and my wife loves it, and that's what matters. And I love her bread, so just encouraging her to keep making that nice, unhealthy bread for me.
That sounds like a match made in heaven. Bread knife and your bread.
Oh, dude, there's just nothing like homemade bread, man. I mean, oh God, it's just
Totally agreed.
take that, put a little butter and some honey. Oh, I'm in heaven, man.
That's like the
So-
difference between store-bought eggs and freshly hatched eggs. Two totally different worlds.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, we have 29. We had 50 chickens, but we're down to like 29 because of hawks, foxes, skunks, and all. But yeah,
Right.
but I did start getting milling. So I'm doing a project for the Makers for St. Jude that I'm gonna auction off, and I'll just say, everybody, if you're a man, you're gonna want to go and put a bid on this. I'm just saying, if you're a man of God. So I'm making what I think is a really cool piece of art that any Christian man would say, I'm going to buy a ticket for that. So, yeah. So
I
I'll
probably will. So
I'll be recording some clips as I go along the steps. You'll figure out what it is pretty quick. But
I'm intrigued now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you go to I'll try to post the link. And that way, if you want to go make a donation, you can. So, yeah.
that's pretty
How
cool.
about you, Will?
Dude, I made sawdust today.
Really?
Look at you.
Not the way I'd hope to make sawdust, but so we're getting these ducks, and we got this big Rubbermaid thing from my in-laws to brood them in, and we have a cat.
Hmm.
And the cat is an indoor-outdoor cat, and we decided to put, and this is probably gonna be a bad idea, but it's what makes the most sense for us, in our sunroom is where they're gonna go. Just because we got enough space in there, and it's whatever. And so we're afraid the cat, he's a savage, and so we're afraid that he's going to try to go after the chicks. And so I took some chicken wire, and then I made a cover with some 2x3s, just a simple frame, and just to set over top of it, put a brick on top of it, and make sure he stays out of it. But I used my circular saw, and I used my drill, and I used the hammer, and here we go. Yeah, I did some DIYing.
Nice. I'm sorry you have a cat, Will. I love all God's creatures, with one exception.
Me too.
Also have 2 dogs, so for what it's worth.
Love dogs.
So,
I am a dog person, and my wife keeps wanting to get a cat, and I'm like, no,
so
I hate them. I do not like cats.
here's the thing with dogs. I'm a dog. I like animals. I don't really care. I like cats because they leave you alone and they can do their own thing. I could leave a bowl of food out and water for a week, and my cat would be just fine. Dogs need more attention, right? But if I'm gonna have a dog, I'm gonna have a real dog, meaning over 50 pounds, right? So we've got a German Shepherd and a Golden Retriever, and I just can't get the yippy dogs that people get the little things. I just can't. That's not a dog to me. My cat's bigger than most people's dog.
Oh my gosh. Well, so we have a English bulldog.
Yeah.
His name is Moose.
Yeah.
He is my boy. So every Saturday morning when I wake up, he and I sit on the couch together and we sit there and we journal and we read, and he is right there with me. Every evening, if I'll sit down and watch a show, and not every night do I get to do that, he will curl right up with me. He's my boy, and we will just hang out. Follows me all over the place. I love him to death. I follow him sometimes too, and that's okay. But he is awesome. But he's cuddly. Cats aren't cuddly. Sorry.
Some are, some aren't. Yeah.
Years ago, when I was younger and I used to race ATVs, I had a friend of mine that I raced ATVs with that had a bulldog, an English bulldog. Name was Butch. Dude, the smartest dog I've ever seen on the planet. He was like, he had the ATVs and all out in the shop and have the doors open. Like, Butch, go shut the door. That dog go over there, slap the dog door with his paw, shut it. And he could do all kind of tricks. But the one I could not believe, he'd be like, Butch, go get in your cage. The dog would go get in his kennel and then pull the cage door shut.
No.
Yes. And I was like, you have got to be kidding. It was the craziest thing ever, man. This dog was so smart. He had trained him to do all these tricks, but I have never. Now, I could tell my dog, kennel, go get in your kennel, and he will walk right in the kennel, but he don't shut the door to it. You have to do that. But that dog would take his paw and pull the door shut.
That's insane.
That's amazing.
And we've always trained our dogs are kennel trained, and we go home. Home was kennel, so go home, right? They go into the kennel. Yeah, not shut the door.
We call Moose's kennel area his castle. So I say, let's go to your castle, and he comes up the stairs with me.
Oh, yeah.
I won't tell you why we call it the castle. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, he's selectively smart. I'll put it that way. He knows what he's doing, but he is the laziest little thing. Or well, I shouldn't say little. He is a chunk. He's a bag of cement. He is the laziest bag of cement you're ever going to come across. But when he wants to do something, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's funny. Awesome. Well, Lew, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story and chatting. And it was a lot of fun. And where can people find you at on the socials and whatnot?
Absolutely. So across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube is my number one. Everything is at Reluctant DIYers. Easiest way to find me. And guys, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed the time. And, I just truly hope that a portion of my story hit home for somebody.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much. Until next week, I'm Will from Flat Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.